You've been very successful from the start at building a personal brand. If you were starting from scratch today, what would you be doing differently?
The core thing with building a personal brand is competence, not confidence.
What's one of the biggest mistakes salespeople are making at the moment?
The biggest mistake is we still get our sales process from the 80s. The world changed and how your consumer wants to buy has changed.
I've always said you can't sell to somebody until they've told you that they've got the problem you solve or they're looking for the solution and they've given you permission to talk about it, especially when it comes to LinkedIn marketing.
What I would do if I were you, Natty, is I would double the price of the high ticket program, but at double the price. And so it's not 60, it's 120. You don't even need to get access to private deals. You might even just take that cash flow and invest it into property and shares and crypto and whatever else.
Just not on junk like Ferraris. And
well, get a couple of Ferraris as well. The business models that thrive going into the future are going to be ridiculously simple. And if you get average in today's world is broke, overweight, in debt, and unhappy. That's average today. If you want to be exceptional, by definition, you have to be the exception.
You're now a dad, so am I. When your daughter's all grown up, what do you hope she says about you? Beautiful. Okay, we're back.
We're back.
Third interview. Lots changed. Last time we spoke, it was during COVID. You're now a dad, so am I. How's fatherhood changed you?
Fatherhood's been amazing. It's both softened me and sharpened me. I think that when you become a father, you don't need to slow down. You just need to prioritize better. You need to upgrade your operating system so that you can do more and be present wherever you are, whenever you are. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's been a huge growth spurt because for the first 20 years of my career, nothing much existed outside of business, right? And now I've got Panda, my wife, who I absolutely adore and, want to kind of maximize the time that we can spend together. And, of course, now we've got Ariella, who's just turned 2, and same thing again. And it's not just spending time with them, but spending quality time with them where I'm present and energized and fit and healthy. And so I've had to upgrade my entire operating system in order to continue to expand as an entrepreneur, but to be the father and the husband that I've wanted to be.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. And do you mind if I ask also about how you've had to navigate boundaries around having a family and your relationship and time with business? Have you and Panda had some conversations around that?
We don't really think in terms of boundaries. Mm-hmm. I don't think in terms of work-life balance, which is like there's this area of life and then there's this area of life, and when I spend time in one, it detracts from the other. I more think about it in terms of work-life integration, which is how do I set up every single aspect of my life so that they feed one another, so that they're not competing with one another, but complementing one another. And so what that means for us is we do some business stuff together. When I host a retreat for our Entourage members, in a couple of months we're taking 70 7- and 8-figure business owners to Hayman Island for a week.
Nice.
Panda will be there. Ariella will be there. In fact, Panda and Ariella will be the stars of the show. Mm-hmm. And so, and then shortly after that, we'll go traveling as a family. But while I'm traveling, I'll also be doing meetings and talking with investors over in America and shooting podcasts and stuff. And so we don't necessarily think about it in terms of boundaries. We more think about it in terms of how do we set it all up so that it all works together and supercharges each other.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so since we last spoke, obviously we've had COVID and that's been and gone. What else do you see changing in the world? What are the things that business owners need to be mindful of what is happening in the world at the moment?
The world's become more noisy. The world's become more complicated. The business models that thrive going into the future are going to be ridiculously simple. And so more than ever, scale is about scissors more than it is bricks. It's more about what can you take away to ensure that your offer is as simple as possible, to ensure that your business model is as simple as possible, to ensure that your team is structured in a way where they have the maximum clarity possible. Essentially what you want to do is you want to be in a position where every detail can be great. And in order to do that, you want to limit the amount of details that exist. And so I'm seeing business models in all types of industries at the moment that 10 years ago would have been too lean, too simple, too kind of narrow, whereas now those are the businesses that are scaling incredibly well.
Yeah.
And so I think going forward, and if we step back for a moment and ask ourselves why is that the case, people's minds are more overwhelmed than ever. And so the mind share that I can allocate to you and your brand is shorter and smaller than ever. And so the simpler the message that you stand for, the simpler the products or the services that you offer, and the simpler it is for you to execute against that promise and deliver on it, the more it will lend itself to scale, particularly going forward.
So take a small business that's doing around, let's say you're doing $500,000 to a couple $1 million.
Yep.
You know, how many offers should they really have? How many choices should they be giving the client?
It depends a lot on the business itself. Generally speaking, if you're a service-based business, or even if you're a product-based business, but it's a relatively high-ticket product, like let's say over $5,000, I reckon one offer gets you to $1 million, and then you want to start diversifying very slowly. It is far more common that a business has too many services, too many offers, too many products than it is that they have not enough. I would much prefer you get to 5 or 10 million off 1 or 2 offers.
Yep.
And then we get to 5 or 10 and it's like, hey, we've got all of these customers, we've got all of these clients. The vast majority of them are really happy with us. If we were to offer them this third thing, I reckon we'd have a 60% adoption rate. And then you're introducing more offers to essentially extend your LTV. That's a better way to do it. And it's the inverse of what most business owners do, which is they go broad way too soon.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be a bit selfish now because I asked that for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
So, like in my business, I've got, it's not a low ticket, but it's like, $2 to sort of $5,000 a month offer.
Yep.
And then I've got like a big 60, 70 grand offer that I offer the big boys.
Yep.
They probably account for 20% of my client base, but most of the revenue.
Yep.
Would you go high ticket or focus on the lower ticket?
So explain to me what both offers are.
One involves a lot more of my time. So the one is
But specifically, what are the offers?
So LinkedIn marketing done for you is the lower offer.
And that's $5,000 a month?
Between 2 to 5, yep.
Who's the customer?
B2B companies, financial services, small businesses, like wealth management.
And you manage their LinkedIn for them?
Yep. And then for the bigger guys, which are pretty much always huge investment banks or financial services companies, I will go in and train their teams one by one. I consult with them. I do create it so that they can run it in 3 to 6 months on their own. So it's a lot of hands-on time by me, and that's why it's so expensive. But these guys are spending a fortune on LinkedIn ads already, and they got no idea what it's doing for them.
And for that you charge 60?
Roughly, on average.
What's the duration of the engagement?
3 to 4 months normally.
Yeah.
Like I'm tempted to just go for those guys, to be honest. It's just I've got to work out how to scale my time.
And what's your North Star? Like in 2 years' time, what kind of a business do you want to have? What are the indicators for success? So in 2 years' time, I will have succeeded if...
I've never thought of my business as something I could sell. I'm actually negotiating buying a SaaS business at the moment, just to have something that I can scale and sell. It'll plug in really nicely with what I'm doing. So with my LinkedIn agency, it's really about being the leader in the field. It's being the industry leader, which is very competitive these days. So I need the right team around me to support me.
And then final question, the 2 to 5K a month thing, who's delivering that?
Account managers, contractors.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's a few things here. Because I would imagine that your ideal business in 2 years' time is something that relatively lean, and high margin.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as a general rule, business owners place too much emphasis on, am I building something I can sell? Because you might have a golden goose in your LinkedIn agency that enables you to get in on some other opportunities and other investments, and then you sell the eggs, you don't sell the goose. And so that's what I do with the Entourage. So in the last few years, I built and sold a consulting company that delivered into Telstra and Amex and Hoyts and the big end of town. And we also built, scaled, and exited an accounting business. And so around the golden goose, we're able to start a company, scale it, and eventually exit it. And so we're not selling the goose, but we're selling the golden eggs that it lays. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think I think you lose more money than you gain if you start trying to treat this like a business that can be sold.
Yeah.
And so I would more build it as a company that can give you the margin and the free cash flow. And then the second thing with that is you don't even need to get access to private deals. You might even just take that cash flow and invest it into property and shares and crypto and whatever else.
Just not on junk like Ferraris and...
Well, get a couple of Ferraris as well. But my point is that the core asset that you're working on doesn't have to be saleable.
Yeah.
It's great if it is, maybe, but it's not a prerequisite, right? Mm. What I would do if I were you, Natty, is I would double the price of the high ticket program.
Yeah.
And I would focus on that. And so that becomes or continues to be 80 to 90% of your revenue while doing the 2 to 5K a month thing. If you think it has growth potential, but if it does not, then just double down on the high ticket clientele.
100%, yeah.
But it double the price. And so it's not 60, it's 120.
Yep.
The other thing that will enable you to do is you double the price. It's what a lot of people don't understand is when you add $1 to your price, that dollar falls straight to the bottom line. It's pure profit. You're not doing any more marketing. You're not doing any more sales. You're not doing any more delivery. Nothing's changed. You're not absorbing any more expense, but your margin goes up considerably. I would then look to bring on a second Nathanial. And it might be paying 3 or 4 times as much as you do for the account managers in the 2 to 5K a month. And so, this person might be anywhere from 180 to 250, 300 a year. But they help you carry the load of, let's say, 50 or 60% of the delivery of most of these high tickets that can generate you 4 or 5 million a year.
Yep.
And so that's what I would do. I would double your price. I would focus on it significantly. Get to a point where you need somebody backing you up, or even before you get to that point, start recruiting somebody now to come in and be your 2IC in delivery.
Yeah.
And focus on that.
Would you hire somebody that's already got a personal brand, or not necessarily? Just somebody that's got those delivery skills?
I'm not so much concerned as to whether they have a personal brand or not. I mean, the pros and cons of I don't care about their brand.
Yeah.
The pros of them having built a personal brand is that they've got demonstrable experience in the thing that we're selling. Yeah. So that's a good thing. The cons of having built a personal brand is it may be an indicator that they don't fully want to commit to another vehicle.
Yeah, that would be my
And
concern.
so I would suss out what is true for them in that instance. But I don't really care. I just need somebody that is 40% as good as you today, and we can make them 80% as good as you within 3 to 6 months because they shadow you everywhere for 2 to 3 months and they're under your training.
Yep. And then they bounce and set up their own business.
That's one of the concerns with the personal branding thing is it may highlight that that's their priority. So you want to find somebody that isn't their priority.
Yeah, makes sense. So you've been very successful from the start at building a personal brand. And back then it was very different to the way it is now. Like your first book was a big part of that. If you were starting from scratch today, building a personal brand, what would you be doing differently?
The core thing with building a personal brand is competence, not confidence. And so do you have a high degree of competence and capability in the thing that you are talking about and in the thing that you want to amplify? If you do, then the key is consistency with regards to organic content. There's something really quite interesting to observe that I've observed in our own stuff over the last couple of years. When you start posting consistently, and this is any platform, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, when you start posting consistently and you get to kind of like the 3 to 6 month mark, and by the way, that's a hell of a lot of work.
Yes.
Posting, let's use Instagram as the example. You want to post a reel a day and a static post a day, right? That's 14 posts a week that have to be great.
Yeah.
And so that's a high degree of output and a high degree of quality management. What tends to happen is when you start posting at that volume, first thing that will happen is you will lose followers and you will lose engagement. At that point, most people just give up. They think, oh, this isn't for me. It's for the Garys of the world or the Jacks of the world.
Yep.
Right? If you can push through that and be maniacally consistent for 3 to 6 months, there's this really interesting thing that happens where the engagement starts to spike, your followers start to spike, and it gets this momentum in and of itself. Because what happens is the algorithm learns that I can rely on you.
Yep.
If I'm going to push people to your profile, Instagram or YouTube, if I'm going to push people towards your profile, you're going to be there tomorrow. You're going to be posting tomorrow. And so the algorithm starts to favor you. The other thing that happens is that you get your skill set up with regards to delivering good content, which is different from what I was speaking about before in terms of competence in the thing that you're talking about. You then need to be competent in talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so posting consistently, particularly when no one's listening, particularly when you're losing followers, and doing that relentlessly for 6 months, talking about something you are genuinely great at, will build you a personal brand.
Yeah. So I don't know about most, but there's a lot of business owners out there that when they hear you say all that, the first thing they think is, I'll just get ChatGPT to do it.
Right.
What's the issue with that? Or is there not an issue with that?
ChatGPT is a terrible content creator. It's a great content co-pilot. We've seen this. You see, I got an email today from somebody that was very direct, and he was giving me an email script. It was a hand-raised email for us to send to our sales pipeline. But the email script that he had written, every few sentences was indented by one space.
Yeah.
ChatGPT does that. Yeah. That's why every time we copy something into a Google Doc, we have to go through it form because it's like, why are you giving me this one space? And so it was. I mean, I would have known it was written by ChatGPT even if it didn't have that one space. It's so obvious when ChatGPT writes your post.
Yep.
When you put something into ChatGPT, it gives you something, you copy and paste it into a LinkedIn post, or you copy and paste it into Instagram caption, or it becomes your real script.
Yep.
It's so obvious because it's vanilla and it follows a similar structure to everything else that ChatGPT outputs. Having said that, it is a great co-pilot. And so I will use it to help generate topics. I will even use it to help generate content. But I probably have to wrestle. Let's say I'm using it for topics or scripts or captions. I will have to wrestle with it on average for 15 to 20 minutes per post before it gets great.
Yep.
And so it's that 15 to 20 minutes of refining and optimizing that's the difference between ChatGPT do this for me and therefore it produces rubbish.
Yep.
And ChatGPT let's do this together and therefore it supercharges your ability to produce great content.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think one of the biggest AI hacks at the moment is don't use it because a lot of people are all doing it.
Yeah.
And if you have an idea, if you have a thought, just get out your phone and go straight to the platform and post it. Whenever I've done that, I've got more engagement. It's crazy. Not grammatically correct, not just raw thoughts, you know?
That's I really like that. I really like that. And I think it's true for the vast majority of people. I personally produce better work in conjunction with AI.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm not using it for ease. I'm not abdicating like the mental effort or the workload onto it.
Yep.
I'm showing up at 100%. So I would write that thing and then I would put it in, and then I would refine it for a little
Yeah.
while. And so unless it was just supposed to be a rant ad hoc type thing, in which case you're better off not using it at all.
Well, it gives you that third party perspective. It's like, what's the audience thinking? And it just gives you some feedback on, are they going to get
and
what
sometimes
I'm
it might sometimes it might develop a better hook than me. Sometimes it might remind me of something I was talking about 7 days ago that I'd just forgotten about. And so there definitely is benefit for me using. I use ChatGPT pretty much for everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Life, business, training, health, everything. Journaling, therapy.
How do I get my 2-year-old to sleep?
Yeah, exactly. We've been very fortunate in that regard, so I haven't had to have that conversation yet, touch wood. But yeah, I having said all of that, I do really like what you said, which is sometimes the best hack is just to not use it and be yourself authentically.
What about in sales? Like, you see these sales agents that are coming out, AI agents. Most of the chatter out there at the moment is, they're not good enough, stay away from them. But obviously that's going to change. Is that something that's on your radar?
The thing is, it's never about the tool. It's about the tradesman who uses the tool. And so I can get a chatbot to have SMS conversations with somebody, but if I'm using the wrong scripts and I don't understand human psychology and I don't understand the sales process that this person needs to be moved through in order to buy, all I'm going to do is amplify crap output faster than I would have otherwise. And so it's the same thing with like CRMs. Business owners are like, oh, we need to change our CRM. Why? Because we're not using the current one properly.
Yep.
It's like, did you hear what the fuck you just said? Your current CRM is not working, not because of the tool, but because you haven't tailored it, you're not using it accurately, and you think moving to something else is going to fix that because you're believing the sales brochure they put in front of you. You're just going to have the same problems again.
Yep.
And so I think for the people who have the right methodology, AI tools will enhance their competitive advantage. And so for us, it's a huge competitive advantage because we've got a system, we've got a methodology, whether it's building audience, whether it's moving audience through a funnel, whether it's sell by chat, whether it's a sales process, whether it's inducting people into a particular service, whether it's retention and extending LTV. And so we're able to combine that methodology with AI that's able to enhance it and do it more consistently and quicker. In that aspect, it's a supercharger.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, I spoke to an AI agents company the other day and I said, does it pretend to be me? Or does it say, hey, I'm like a robot? And they said, it can pretend to be you. That's fine. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's that happened to me a little while ago. I won't mention the company's name. Everyone would probably know who the business is and who the entrepreneur is. But I received a call. This was like just shortly after ChatGPT kind of blew up. And so that was that right in the beginning few weeks of like this ChatGPT LLM mania that was going on. I was driving home and I got this call and I picked up and I could even recognize it was the entrepreneur's voice, which was the first tell because it was a sales call, but it was the entrepreneur's voice who, again, everybody would know. And I'm a communicator, right? I've been so deep in psychology and human behavior and communication and language models literally since I was 6. And so a lot of what I do is I spend my time training people how to communicate more effectively to get their outcomes. And in this call, the structure of the call was so beautiful. Like, as a sales geek, I was like, oh, this is good. And it was too good because I can't train a sales team to be that good. And I said, am I speaking to a human or am I speaking to AI? And the thing I was speaking to went, I'm that scripted, am I? And I said, no, just so you understand, from one salesperson to another, the structure of this call is incredible. And then there was a pause, and then it was, I'm that scripted, am I? It was the exact same soundbite as the previous response. And it was the first time, again, this is like new ChatGPT world. And so it was the first time this had happened to me. And I literally, it was creepy. And so I literally had like hairs stand up on my arm.
Yeah.
Thinking like, I've just been engaging in a conversation with somebody and been really impressed by them, and now I've just learned that it's a computer.
Yeah.
And the computer was, to come back to your original point, was trying to pass itself off as human.
Yeah.
It's a digital marketing agency that was calling me. If I was them, I either would have done one of two things. I either would have waited till I was asked, and I would have said, yes, this is an AI bot programmed by X company or X entrepreneur. Yep. This is something we help our clients to do. Is that something you'd be interested in? Yep. I would have used the momentum and the strength of it as a unique selling point.
Yep.
Or at the top of the call, I would have said it around that same scripting. Damn. There is zero advantage to be gained by being dishonest about it.
Yeah. Breaking trust. I would have said it right up front, made a joke about it, because it's a novelty at the moment.
It's a novelty.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a service-based business and you either help people generate leads or convert sales, or like you can translate the use of AI back to what you can help them to do.
Yeah.
It's a lay down. It should be like your number one USP is like, yes, we do this and we can help you do the same.
Yep.
And so,
yep.
I think sales agents are good, chatbots are good, all that stuff is good, provided you have the right scripting and right methodology, and provided you don't lie about it.
Yep. One of the biggest things that I've come across in the last, 10 years has been really highlighted. Well, I've been generating all these leads for businesses on LinkedIn is businesses don't recognize the need for sales training enough. Like
100%.
It's absolutely crazy, you know, how many businesses don't invest in sales training. What's one of the biggest mistakes salespeople are making at the moment, do you think?
The biggest mistake is we still get our sales process and systems and thinking from the 80s. And so the way most people think about sales is backwards. In the 80s, it was all about pitching the sale and closing the deal. And it had this very masculine, macho energy to it. And what happened is the world changed and consumers changed and how your consumer wants to buy has changed.
Yes.
But how you sell has not. And so we live in a world where people hate to be sold to, but more than ever, love to buy.
Yeah.
And so you want to buy a car, you want to own a car, but you don't want to be sold a car. You want to buy a home, you want to own a home, but you don't want to be sold a home. And so the number one thing salespeople get wrong in today's world is they're still pitching at people.
Yeah.
It's this rational, one-dimensional, this is what my product or service does and I want you to buy it type conversation. That way of sales died in the 80s. Where we need to come from today is how do you create a sales system that leads somebody through a process that gets them to articulate and them to decide that they want to move forward with you. And you can do that from the first 5 seconds of a phone call or a conversation right through to asking for the deal.
Yeah.
And so have you crafted a sales system that enables you and your team to sell less so that your customers can buy more? The core difference here is we must stop creating a sales mindset in us and our team, and we need to start creating a buying mindset in our customers.
Yeah, yeah. And on that, I mean, when you're talking, I think about the customer journey, you know, so where people are in the buying cycle. Like some people aren't even problem aware yet, you know.
100%.
And I've always said you can't sell to somebody until they've told you that they've got the problem you solve or they're looking for the solution and they've given you permission, you know, to talk about it. Like, so that's the way I look at it, especially when it comes to LinkedIn marketing.
Yeah.
So that's top of the funnel, you know, awareness stage. A lot of that can be taken care of by marketing if you do it right.
Exactly.
So do you think marketing is more important these days than sales, or they're more integrated?
You need both if you want to scale. The most common mistake I see people making with sales and marketing is they want to increase sales, and the first thing they think is, I need more leads.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, their sales conversions are significantly lower than they should be. And so you're converting at 30% rather than 45%. And so the first issue you should solve is getting your sales conversions up. and getting them to a point that's optimal where you feel like they've maximized. The reason why you start there is twofold. Firstly, it's free money. You're not generating any more leads. You're not having any more conversations. You're not doing any more work. But if your conversions go from 30% to 45%, you've just increased the revenue of your business by 50%. And most small to medium-sized businesses, we have a relatively fixed cost base. So you increase the revenue by 50%. Generally speaking, you increase the net profit by more than 50%. All we did was increase the sales conversions by having a sales system that convert better. And so the second reason we start there is so that when you start spending money and time on leads, you're putting them through a system that's maximizing the conversions rather than wasting money on leads now, but then not converting because the offer isn't strong enough and the sales process isn't there yet. And so you absolutely need to use them together, but it's sales conversions first, lead generation second.
Interesting. And where are you seeing the best opportunities when it comes to marketing at the moment?
That's a really good question. Organic content on social media.
Really? Yeah, okay.
And ads on social media.
Yeah, okay. And that in conjunction with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I would view it as, again, it comes back to the top funnel piece that you were speaking about earlier. And so you want your top of funnel to be, ideally, the first time someone sees you, they see your content that is adding value.
Yeah.
And then once they've become a follower or once they're engaging with you, you either start having a conversation with them in Messenger or they see an ad of yours. But put it this way, we're over the harbour from the International Convention Centre, Sydney, right? And so at the Entourage, we run a big event called the Unconvention. And so in Sydney, we'll have 1,500 people. In Perth, we'll have 800 people. In Melbourne, we'll have 1,000 people. If we target an ad to buy an Unconvention ticket, it's somebody that doesn't follow us. It costs us 17 times the amount to sell them a ticket as putting an ad in front of somebody that does follow us. 17 times. So I'm not talking 20% more, 40% more, 50% more, which would be a material amount.
Yeah.
1,700% more.
Yeah.
Right? And so audience isn't about ego, it's about economics.
Yeah.
And so if we can have strong organic content and have an acquisition ad strategy that comes underneath that, that will turbocharge growth, faster and easier and cheaper than we've ever seen in the business world.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think is more difficult for most businesses, the ads or the organic stuff?
I think organic is more difficult because for a few reasons. If we speak to ads for a second, ads, you need the creative to be good, you need the messaging to be good, you need it coming through to an effective landing page that's tailored to that particular ad set. And so there is work and optimization that needs to happen. And it is difficult and it is a skill set in and of itself.
Absolutely.
But organic content is, I believe, even more difficult than that because you have to be so consistent. Like you can develop an ad
100%,
and you can run that ad for 3 weeks, 3 months. I mean, if it doesn't fatigue, you can run it forever.
Yeah.
Right. With content, you need to and should be creating new and fresh content every day.
Yeah.
The other thing that makes it slightly more difficult is sometimes it doesn't have a direct line to revenue as the ads will. Now, there's ways that you can change that, like through sell by chat, or through having ads back up the organic content.
Sell by chat.
And so you can have a direct line to revenue.
Yeah.
But it's there's more steps involved. And so not only with organic content do you need to be more consistent and therefore it requires more effort, but it's actually a longer delay and a longer time horizon to revenue and brand growth.
Yeah. And you've said consistency like, I don't know, maybe 50 times since we sat here. And I just got to share this with you. So when my daughter was born, I pretty much more or less stopped posting on LinkedIn. Like I maybe did one every couple of weeks, but before that I was like 3 or 4 posts a day. I was going live every week. I was hammering it and it was going really, really well. 6 months turned into 2 years.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, it's time to get back to work.
Yeah.
And that was just before Christmas that I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, post every day again, going live, pretty much crickets.
Yeah.
For like the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
and I've got 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
But they're moved on, they're not interested, whatever. You know, I'm not reaching them.
Yeah.
So I've experienced it firsthand, you know, not practicing what I preach.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, right? Because you might do all of the front end work, but if you stop, you're going to have to do it all. Like it won't take as long. Like, don't get me wrong, things are going pretty well at the moment.
Spot on, yeah.
What are we now? April?
Yep.
Yeah, so 3 months to get it fired up.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of hammering.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
Consistency is everything. Consistency is everything when it comes to content. Consistency is everything when it comes to health and nutrition and training. Consistency is everything when it comes to leadership and management of your team. It's absolutely everything. And the algorithm with regards to organic content makes that excruciatingly obvious. It comes back to the whole thing of, if, let's say you are posting a podcast on YouTube and you're able to post once a week, if your audience can learn that every Friday Natty releases a podcast on X and it's always good and I can rely on that and I get in the cadence of that, it builds retention. And so you want to think about social media and audience growth no different to how you would think about a product and client or customer retention. You want strong retention, you want strong renewals and referrals, and you want strong LTV.
Yep.
And when we stop showing up, it compromises, it breaks your chain of LTV that you then need to, you know, kind of ramp back up again.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, obviously the answer is different for different size businesses, but as a business owner, how much time should you be allocating to creating content and stuff like that, as opposed to all the other things you've got to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there's some advice out there that I disagree with, right? There's thought leaders that both you and I and probably everybody watching this would know, and they kind of say, be on every platform all of the time, do nothing other than generate social media content. I strongly disagree with that, because there are so many competing demands for most small to medium-sized businesses that if that is all they were to do, the other areas of their business would suffer to such a degree that it would be a net negative to the company. And so the answer is you want to maximize the time that you can spend on it, but then as a second horizon is you want to build your delivery engine and your sales team and your marketing team in such a way that can operate without you, so that you've got altitude to spend more time on these high-level tasks. That might take 3, 6, 12 months, right? Yep. And so in the meantime, maximize your time on it while understanding that how you spend your time is everything.
Yeah.
And it's less about... The paradigm shift for the entrepreneur is this. You don't want to be stuck in a business where it's dependent on your exertion. And it's like it's dependent on how much you can do in a day. Right. It's true for 99% of businesses. It's not just you.
Yeah.
It's the question is, how do we build a marketing, sales, and delivery engine such that it gives you altitude to focus on things that are going to move the needle at a higher level?
Yeah. What are the things that only you can do, right?
100%.
And it's harder. It's interesting because, like, it's actually easier when things aren't going well to create content, because you're like,
yeah, because your calendar's blank.
But when you're packed full of clients and things are going well, that's when it's hard to stay consistent.
Yeah.
You know, who have your mentors been over the years?
My mentors have changed substantially as I've developed throughout my career. And so 20 years ago, I had more mentors than you're able to poke a stick at, right? I had mentors in marketing, mentors in sales, mentors in capital raising, mentors in leadership, mentors in management, and I deliberately sought them out. Today, it's probably more a case of I've got a very strong peer group, and I learn a lot from studying the greats of history. And so anybody can be a mentor. You know, Einstein can mentor you if you go and study him. Michelangelo can mentor you if you go and study him. Oprah can mentor you if you study what she's done in media and how she's kind of expanded her portfolio over the years. And so it's kind of like when you start playing the piano, you get somebody else's music and you play their music. And then you get so good at playing other people's music that you start to write your own music. It's not to say you don't draw inspiration from great musicians that have come before you and other musicians that are operating right now, but you're mainly writing your own music inspired by what you observe in others. And so I think one's journey with mentors changes and evolves as they do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me because, like, when I started posting content, all of my mates and other business owners were very confused what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing all those videos? No one's looking at them, mate. You know? But I would just put my headphones on and listen to you or Gary V. And I was like, oh, no, I'm all right. You know? And then a year later, my peer group started to change. You know, and I started to mix with other guys who were doing the same thing. And now it's like a different world. Like, everyone I know posts content.
Right. And so I think for me, that's one of the scariest things that can exist for an entrepreneur. And I kind of refer to this as the 1% and the 99%. And I don't say that from a hierarchical perspective or better than, worse than, whatever. It's just true that business owners and entrepreneurs are wired differently to the vast majority of people. And my biggest concern for 1%ers is that they operate in a world where they're surrounded by 99%ers who just don't understand what the fuck they're doing. And the biggest concern there is that they convince you that you're stupid. They convince you that what you're doing is useless. They convince you that you're getting too big for your boots, and eventually you quit and you join the 99%ers. And so it's so important, as you experience in your journey, to get around more 1%ers where it's normal to be doing these behaviors. In fact, they would probably call it out if you weren't doing it instead of calling you out for doing it. And so as a 1%er, I believe that we all have to get around other 1%ers where you almost have the peer pressure is not to shrink. The peer pressure is to perform.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this big need to fit in, right? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that's holding people back when it comes to being an entrepreneur or building a personal brand.
It's the biggest thing that holds people back from being who the fuck they want to be.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting, is we live in a culture where everybody wants to be exceptional. Yet the human mind is programmed to look at the tribe and to acclimatize to what is normal. Now, a different word for normal is average. And so most people's GPS for who I should be showing up as is average. And if you target average, you're going to get average. And if you get average, average in today's world is broke, overweight, in debt, and unhappy. That's average today. And so we're looking to everybody else to acclimatize to their level while telling ourselves we want to be exceptional. If you want to be exceptional, by definition, you have to be the exception. If you are the exception, then by definition, everybody else is going to disagree with what you're doing. Otherwise, they would be doing it, and therefore it wouldn't be exceptional. And so this whole thing of listening to other people's opinion and acclimatizing to average is the biggest thing that keeps people stuck because they're using the wrong fucking measuring system to build their own greatness.
100%. That was a good one.
Yeah, it pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah. You can't help everyone, I guess. But I was going to ask you, what's some of, like, because I would imagine that some people are aware that they're doing it, you know, and want to change, but are finding it stuck, like to not continue to worry about what other people think of them. It's difficult to go against the tribe, and it's difficult to get that feedback. Sometimes you have to check in with yourself. And
the question is, what do you want?
Do you want approval, or do you want to be liked, or do you want to be successful?
If you want to fit in, go fit in. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's what everybody else is doing. Just do everything that everybody else is doing, and you will fit in. It's the easiest fucking thing in the world. You will be nothing. You will be nobody. You will go nowhere, and you will probably be unhappy.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, then choose that. Go for it. I don't have any judgment around it.
Yeah.
My challenge is doing that when clearly it's not what you want.
Yeah. And that starts in school, right? I've heard you talk about this already on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, so when is the Entourage going to start a high school?
I'm not going to start a high school, but I am.
But do you agree that that's a business that needs to happen?
I am strongly considering going into that industry, but it wouldn't be building a school.
Yeah.
Yes, it clearly needs to happen. The thing is that everybody's question is, well, how do we change the education system? It's like,
Get rid of it.
well, you're not going to change the education system.
Well, you can homeschool kids, and there should be businesses that solve that problem.
That's my view exactly. And so that's not changing the system. That's building a new one.
Yeah.
That's what I think needs to happen. Now, when I say build a new one, it's I don't have any delusions around like in 10 years everybody will do this new thing. 80% of people will probably still do traditional schools in 10 years.
Yep.
But there will be more visible and respected and well-branded and well-delivered education channels that more and more people will move through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the change will come from the outside, not the inside. The inside will be disrupted, as it already is.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right, that we both become dads at a similar time.
Yeah.
About a year and a half in, we found out Brooklyn's, disabled. She's got cerebral palsy. She will have trouble walking and talking. But she's all there, 100% all there. Very happy kid, But it's like when you hear something like that, like you kind of want a problem that you can solve, like a business problem or financial problem, not your kid's got some sort of health condition. So yes, it slammed us around for a few days, but then we sort of got into action mode, and it's like, okay, well, what can we do to give her the best support we can? And, obviously we're getting a therapy and all that sort of stuff. But then I think about a lot after the family's gone to bed, I think about long term, and I'm thinking about things like, what's it going to be like for her in high school? Because if she's getting bullied, I'll take her out for sure, because I don't want her to experience that. But I mean, at the moment in play school, or whatever you call it, daycare, she loves it, absolutely loves it.
Yep.
So you've talked a bit about homeschooling and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, as you say, I think anything to do with children and permanent conditions is probably the most challenging thing that anybody can come up against, is being, a parent in that scenario. And so I can only imagine just how sort of traumatic it must be. When I talk to people about homeschooling and alternative education, the main thing that people ask about is, what about socialization? And my response to that is, have you been to a high school recently? Because what's going on in high schools, you do not want your kid socializing within. And so what I've observed is sometimes I'll come across some parents, usually they're quite entrepreneurial, and they've raised their kids while they've been traveling or while they've been running businesses, and they've been homeschooling them, or they've had tutors do it digitally, or whatever the case might be. Those kids, teenagers, adolescents are far more well socialized than kids in school. And so I actually think more often than not, school is the biggest risk factor when it comes to socialization. It's not the answer to socialization. I would much rather have, if I use my daughter as an example, I would much rather have her not be in school, not need to conform to the production line, not absorb the values of the school and the teachers. And by the way, the vast majority of teachers are amazing. We know that, and they're underpaid. And so my challenge isn't with the teachers. My challenge is with the system that they operate within. But would I rather my kid absorb those values and those beliefs, or would I rather them absorb the values and beliefs that we hold and share as a family and be more deliberate and proactive with the socialization aspect so that she's always socializing with the best people that we can find. For me, what I've observed with others that have done that is that the experiment runs far more successful than sending them to school to socialize them.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, I went to like an all-boys school, and
Same.
it was like so traditional, you know?
Yep.
Which just means it's like, it's just doing things the way that it was 20 years ago, right?
Well, I was one of 3 boys, right? And so I was the youngest. My oldest brother was expelled 6 times
Oh, yeah?
from 4 different schools.
So is he an entrepreneur?
He actually is. He actually is. My other brother went through school, hated it, never should have been there, was bullied a little bit, and died at the age of 21 as a result of drugs.
Oh.
And so, you know, and I'm not basing my beliefs on my anecdotal family's experience. It's a broader observation and data set than that. But to my observation, the people that are successful and happy are successful and happy despite school,
Yeah.
not
absolutely.
because of it.
Yeah.
And so this whole the current education system was designed literally in the 1800s, literally to produce factory workers. That's not exaggeration. That's fact. And the fact that we're sitting here now talking about how alternative forms of education are superior, the fact that that's controversial
Yeah.
only proves how conditioned everybody is. We don't stop to ask ourselves, does school help prepare young adults for the real world? We just assume it does because that's what we've been told, and that's what was true for our parents and their parents.
Yeah.
And so we are way past due to question that fundamental belief.
Yeah. I did this talk at my high school. It was actually all entrepreneurs, 5 of us. 5 entrepreneurs, business owners. They got in to speak to the Year 12 students. And I thought it was a panel. They were like, we're going to interview you. And then they're like, okay, first speaker, Nathaniel Bibby. And I'm like, to get up there for like 15 minutes.
Off you go. Press the go button.
And so I just thought, okay, I'll just speak to these kids. And I was like, the first thing you got to know is, you know, being a successful entrepreneur has nothing to do with what you achieve here
Yeah.
at school. And the teachers are going,
Yeah.
And I said to everyone, you know, who wants to be in marketing? No one put their hand up. It's like, what? Who wants to be an engineer? Half the room. Who wants to be a lawyer? Half the room.
Yep.
That's crazy. Where are those like motivations coming from? Is that's just their parents? Like,
Yeah, it's the parents in the school.
yeah,
Yeah.
the school, the expectations,
Yeah.
and they'll probably end up doing something completely different.
Yeah. Well, today, the high schools measure themselves on one core metric, which is how many students went to university and in what degrees. In other words, how prestigious were the degrees that we were able to get them into. And so the school looks good. The more of its students that go into law, medicine, and engineering, the better the school looks. And so the whole system is set up to promote, essentially, those kind of careers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much against the grain to leave school and start a business. That's like you're going to fight against your parents' well, most of the time, most parents would disagree with that decision.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to fail a few times.
Yeah.
And that's going to be looked on as...
Proof that they were right.
Yeah, most people don't fail, they give up, right?
Correct.
You know, that's like university for business, isn't it? Trying it and it doesn't work and you try again.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll do your apprenticeship. You'll do your degree. It will just be self-driven and self-initiated in the real world. I think the quality of the education is far greater because you're doing your education in the world that you need to become accustomed to, not inside the 4 walls of a university, which was detached from the real world 20 years ago, much less today.
Yeah. But when you grew up, you had access to different sort of resources with what your parents did, right? Like were they doing some sort of seminars as well?
Yeah, they run a not-for-profit organisation called Breaking the Cycle, and so they take youth at risk off the street and out of jails and from abusive homes, and they put them through training and then facilitate them into employment. And they were the best at what they did in the country. And so I had access to. I grew up surrounded with books and cassettes on personal development, psychology, communication, management, and leadership. And so that's what I was saying earlier in terms of, I've literally been studying and immersing and obsessing about communication since the age of 6. That's how.
Yeah.
Because it was just there. It was in my environment, and something within me resonated with it to such a degree that it's been a lifelong obsession.
So when you say communication, like what was the first thing you took to? Was it writing? When did you do your first talk?
The first component of communication is to realize that when you are thinking, you are communicating with yourself. All we are doing when we're thinking is asking and answering questions inside of our head. And so right now, if somebody's listening to this, they just said to themselves, is that true? Oh my God, that is true. Shit, how have I never known that?
Yeah.
Oh, I've just learned something. And so all thinking is asking yourself questions and answering questions, which parallels almost completely to interpersonal communication, right? The questions you ask yourself and the answers you give yourself will determine the quality of your thinking. And the quality of your thinking will determine the quality of your life. And so I intuitively had this kind of innate understanding at a very young age that the more capable I was at communicating with myself and communicating with others, the more effective I would be at generating the outcomes that I wanted.
Yeah. And did that get met with some resistance? And like when you first started going down that route of I'm going to be, well, you've obviously been quite honest with yourself and you made a decision to go a different path than most people. Did you experience that resistance, and was it challenging for you?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said earlier. I think when anybody takes a non-traditional path, the people around you are going to resist that, not because they're bad people, but because they care about you and you're not doing it the way they would have done it or the way they would have chosen it for you. And so this is why often your parents are the worst people to take advice from, because they're so wrapped up. They love you so much and they care about you so much. They're going to give you terrible advice.
Yep.
Because then they're never going to encourage you to take the risks that you need to. They're probably not going to hold you to account or be as honest with you as what a best coach would. And so they're a terrible source of advice and direction because they would love to wrap you up in cotton wool, whereas the best way to forge a meaningful and constructive path through life is to take on as much responsibility as humanly possible, be as honest and objective with yourself as humanly possible, and try to build your emotional muscle and your mental muscle and your physical muscle as much as possible so that you can carry a heavier load. But that's a difficult path. And so it's extremely rare that a parent would encourage a kid to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's different. There'll be a different dynamic between one parent and the other, right?
Usually, yeah. Usually there's values misalignments within families.
A lot of conversations I'll have with Lacey are, I'm kind of comfortable with her taking a lot more risk. Like I want to push her a bit. But I think it's good to have the balance.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, well, enough on parenting. Let's move on. So last time we spoke, you were going over to the US, I believe. You were exploring some options about expanding the Entourage over there. It's interesting. I've heard some mixed feedback from people expanding into the US. Some have a cautionary tale and, some people it's taken a couple of times to make it work. What's your experience been like so far? How far along are you with the journey?
We've recently started diving in, and so we are now expanding in the US. We're doing incredibly well in the US. I think that the key to the US market is a few things. Firstly, you need to go in with a lean, profitable model, leveraging off your Australian operations as much as possible. Like if you're a service-based business or even a product-based business, people think about, I'm going to expand to the US. Okay, well, then I need to start building a team. And do I need to start buying some billboards and some ads on TV? And I need to start doing PR. And I probably need an office. And it's like expense. This is how, if I were you, this is how I would expand into America. Go into Meta Ads Manager, and where it says target ads in Australia, I just want you to add USA. Now you're in America. Your ads are running in America. Now you can test how many impressions you get. You can test cost per lead. You can test cost per acquisition. And you can probably do most of the delivery from here.
Yep.
But that's how you expand internationally these days, is you literally deploy your funnel in the market that you want to go into, and you do it from where you are, taking on zero incremental cost.
Yeah.
That's international expansion done properly.
Yeah.
And so you do it lean, do it concentrated, focus on the things that mattered, and then follow the data. If you do that, then you only ever scale what works. You don't waste any money on what doesn't.
Yeah. So at any point, will you have an office there, do you think? Is there any benefit to that?
It's hard to know with certainty. However, my current position is probably not. I think we've got an amazing space here in Australia that, my team and I love being at. We overlook Darling Harbour. We're right in the city. It's a beautiful space. When we start to scale America to a greater degree, it will be delivered somewhat from the team here in Australia and somewhat from a team in the States. But my current position is that team is probably best off being remote.
Yep. Yep. Cool.
Reason being is, let's say I want to recruit people that are in the States. If we're remote, well, then I can recruit anybody from all 50 states. But if we've got an office in Austin, then it either limits the geography from who I can recruit, or it means anybody I recruit needs to move to Austin from LA, from New York, from wherever it might be.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you get a greater talent pool. It's leaner. It's more simple. And I think you also get access to a larger talent pool because more and more people want flexibility in how they work today. And so there's so many advantages to the remote thing that I way outnumber the advantages of having an office that you pay money for that people have to come to every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different world, and the people are the big component, aren't they? So, because otherwise you kind of got to go there. Like 20 years ago, if you were expanding into the US, the first thing you'd do probably would be hop on a plane and go there, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
It's changed. The world's changed.
It has changed.
Yeah.
And the market's bigger, right? We, at the Entourage, we help business owners scale, and we help them step into the 10.0 version of who they are so that they can be the kind of person that's able to scale and build businesses, but also to build a meaningful life.
Yeah.
In America, there's more business owners than there are humans in Australia. In America, there are 32 million business owners.
Yep.
And so from a TAM perspective, a total addressable market perspective, if you're based in Australia, I don't even care what your market is. Your TAM is probably 15 to 50x what it is here over in the States.
So would you go over there and do events? Or would it all be virtual?
These are really good questions, mate, because it's stuff that I'm thinking through. Like, literally, I was having that conversation this morning with my director of marketing.
Yeah.
Because we'll go there Panda and I and Ariella will go there for a couple of months in the middle of this year, mainly just to escape winter, but secondly to do constructive things. If I ran events, it would be purely because I wanted to, and purely because I wanted the visceral interaction with the people so that I could better understand qualitative stuff that might not show up on data or metrics on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And so I'd be doing it because I wanted to, and I'd be doing it to rub shoulders with people. But we don't need to run events there in order to make it successful.
Yeah. Yeah, the events are awesome. I think it'd be cool to do them in the US.
Yeah.
So just finally, I want to talk a little bit about, I think there's a huge trend at the moment for people being like, there's a lot of mistrust out there. There's a lot of disinformation. And I think, in my experience, building trust isn't just about telling people like, look at all my awards and my testimonials and stuff. It's about, in my experience, it's been about being authentic and being vulnerable. So, for example, when I do a talk, first thing I do is share a vulnerable story, and I believe that gets the audience to trust me. What do you think around building trust? How do companies separate themselves from their competitors in this area? And so they're not all saying the same stuff. You know, like they are all saying the same stuff. A lot of them are, right? And they've all got the testimonials. You can all put logos on your website. What can you do to build trust with your audience that everyone else isn't doing?
I think it fundamentally comes down to being the best at what you do. And so one way to think about brand is it's the cumulative impact our products or services have had on our current and historical customers. And so if you think about all of that product equity, that's what brand is. And so how to not sound like everybody else, that's about, firstly, you don't even start that with messaging. Like, it's the messaging we want to differentiate. But if you differentiate the messaging, but the thing you sell is the same, then you kind of just putting lipstick on a pig. And so the first thing you want to do is fundamentally differentiate what you offer from a products or a services standpoint to the market, and then ensure that differentiation flows through the messaging. If you can do that and then deliver on your promise as often as humanly possible, then that reputation and that, is kind of old school as it sounds, that word of mouth and that brand equity will carry you.
Yeah. So after taking a break from posting content, sort of, like I still had clients, so I could afford to do that and still have a business.
Yeah.
Right? But when I come back, there's like a LinkedIn trainer on every corner.
Yep.
And, 5 years ago, I could put my hand on my heart and say I was the best LinkedIn marketer. Like,
yep.
I had that confidence. There's guys that are better than me now.
Yep.
Right? So I'm thinking to myself.
So I would ask myself two questions.
Yeah.
What's it going to look like 12 months from now? Don't try and guess 2 years, 5 years, just 12 months from now. And secondly, what makes me different to everybody else? And then what you want to do is want to find the intersection of those two things. Where's the market going?
Yeah.
Where am I better? And go there.
So there's two directions I'm thinking of. Because most of these guys are broke. They're LinkedIn trainers. I've run a really successful LinkedIn agency for the last 10 years. So one is I could show them all how to do it. Create a course. I've done it longer than anyone else. Or two, I go niche on financial services because I love that industry. They get the best results. No one's doing that. I don't like competing with a bunch of people. I like to have my...
Well, the niche also aligns with what we're talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And so I would go niche and charge 10 times as much as they do.
Yeah. That's such a big point of difference because most of them are just dealing with small businesses. I love it.
Yeah, and they couldn't go into financial services companies and charge 120K, whereas you can.
Yeah.
And so that's where we go. And then your case studies aren't, I worked with Jane and we got her first customer. Your case studies are, I worked with ABC Financial and we went from 24 million last year to 26 million this year, and that incremental 2 million came from LinkedIn. Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But your case studies will be bigger and better. And so that all kind of triangulates.
I think it makes sense. Yeah, B2B is so interesting when you're dealing with these big companies. Like it's very different. You're dealing with the heads of marketing, and I'm like looking at all the data. And I'm not going to mention any companies' names, but you're looking at all the data, and you're like, you guys don't know what your return on investment is. The marketing manager said to me, "We don't care, Nathaniel. A boss doesn't look at that. All he looks at is the number of followers and the percentage engagement. That's it. That's all we care about."
Yeah, I mean, this comes back to, everybody thinks that businesses who scale are businesses who do something really fancy. And that's never the case. Great businesses are great because they do the basics well at scale. And to the extent that they're not doing that is the extent to which they're leaving money on the table and stunting their own growth. And so it's probably surprising to a lot of people to hear you tell that story. It's like, wait, you're working with this big company doing $100 million and they don't even know what they're looking at? Yeah, Yeah, and to the extent that they can get realigned to focusing on the things that matter is the extent to which they'll go from 100 to 200 to $1 billion.
Yeah, and one of the things you said when I interviewed you during COVID, and I said, what's going to be the key, success factor at the moment? And you said, we've got to be quick on your feet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for a company to do that when they're that size than it is if you're small and nimble, right? That's
definitely. It's harder, but it's not impossible. They can still do it. It's just that they're less likely to, because there's so much noise. They've forgotten what signal sounds like. And so, you've got a professional CEO who's a professional manager. You've then got an executive team. You've then got a management team. You've then got a middle management team. You've got a board of directors that thinks they know how to run a business, and they do from 1960, but not from 2025. And so you've got all of this noise and all of these highly intelligent people staring at the complete wrong things, steering the business into the abyss.
Yep.
And so they can get better at tuning into signal. But in order to do it, they would have to do a hell of a lot of pruning. And that's something that the vast majority of medium to large size businesses aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
Because they're too comfortable.
Yeah. Some companies are doing it well. Hey, JP Morgan's LinkedIn's profile is awesome. Checking it out. They're killing it. They must spend a fortune on that.
Even they may be doing their LinkedIn strategy well, but there would be things in their marketing funnel. There would be things in their sales process. There would be if you were to take an entrepreneurial microscope
100%.
Over that business,
totally.
Look at all of their head count.
Yeah.
Look at where what are their top 5 kind of buckets or categories of expenses. You would find so much inefficiency.
100%. And there's already things I look at and I was like, they're doing that wrong or that wrong. But like overall, they're doing a pretty good job. I just think they would be spending a fortune on it. Like the videos are like, the guy flies in on a helicopter. And then it's like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. And they post them every day.
JP Morgan videos. Yeah, I love it.
So if you're watching JP, hit me up.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah. Hit up Nat and Jack.
Don't hit me up. I'll come in with the chainsaw. You don't want that.
When your daughter's all grown up, what do you hope she says about you?
He loved me.
Yep.
I think that's our primary job, is to do that and to guide as constructively as we can.
Yeah. And what about as a man? Just like, not as my dad, but like as a man, what do you hope she says about you?
I want to be her hero. I want to be the person in her life that is an example to her and her peer group. I want to be an example of somebody that loves and adores her mother so much that I set a bar for the quality of romantic relationships in Ariella's life. I want to be an example of somebody that can solve just about any problem. I want to be an example, and you sort of translate all of this to Panda as well. But Panda and I are also, and you see it in Ariella already, we're an example of an extreme amount of happiness and joy, like every morning, every night, like every day. And so if we can love her, guide her, and most importantly, be the examples, then I think we've done our job. Here's the thing, man. We speak to a lot of parents and they're like, oh man, I love my kids so much, I'd die for them. So I don't care whether you're willing to die for your kids. I care whether you're willing to live for your kids. Are you willing to take control of your health and be consistent 7 days a week? Are you willing to stop abusing alcohol and junk food and your previous poor habits and patterns that you're carrying from childhood? Are you willing to cut that shit off to be a better example for your kid? Are you happy to, or are you willing to objectively look at yourself and identify where you need to heal and grow in yourself to be an example for your kids?
Yep.
That's more important than I'm willing to die for them. Step up and live for them.
Yeah, 100%. They're always watching, man. Always watching.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so happy, man. But I listen. Most mornings, Panda will go in and, Ariella will wake up and Panda will go in. Panda goes and she opens the door, Munchkin, monkey! And then for the next 10 minutes, they're both screaming and shouting and somersaulting and wrestling. And, there's all this, her reality is joy and happiness. Not because our lives are perfect, but because that's the energy that we're intentionally bringing into the home for her and for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so you're right. They're always watching, they're always absorbing, and they're a sponge to take in the energy that's around them.
Yeah. And that's obviously intentional with you guys.
It's 100% intentional. It's not let's pretend to be happy for the kids. Because that's just faking it.
That would work, yeah.
It's how do we make sure that we are genuinely trying to be our absolute best selves every day, so that we are a true and real example for the kids.
100%.
That's what I mean by living for the kids, not being willing to die for the kids.
Yeah, and they know anyway. Like, it's crazy, man.
They know, man.
I had an argument with Daisy.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn didn't see it. And then 20 minutes later, I'm at IGA with Brooklyn. She's only 2. And she's pointing at the flowers. I said, "Oh, you want Daddy to buy you some flowers?" She's like, "No, Mummy." It's like, Jesus. She knows what's going on.
Yeah, man. And so, imagine the impact when she sees you buying the flowers and giving the flowers to Mummy.
I actually thought she wanted to buy it. So I thought, so when we got home, I said, "You want to give the flowers to Mummy?" She's like, "No, Dada."
Yeah. They're teaching us already.
Yeah,
they're smart.
But that's right. Showing her, like, it's not the argument. It's how you deal with it afterwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfection isn't the standard. Showing up is the standard.
Yeah. I mean, did you have with your parents like that? Did you have that example to follow?
I think so. Yeah. My parents were an extremely positive and constructive example in my life. 100%.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, that's a wrap.
Thanks, man. Good to chat to you.
Cheers, Jack.
Let's do it again in another 5 years.